can start with a 3 long, deep breaths together to situate ourselves in this space. Right here, right now, nowhere to go, nothing to do. Just you and your breathing. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. In, out. While you breathe in, just be aware of your inner and external things that happen. It's okay. Just pay attention to your breathing. Breathing in, my breath grows deep. Breathing out, my breath goes slowly. Deep, slowly. Now that we have established a rhythm in our breathing, we turn our awareness to our body. Aware of my body, I breathe in. Relaxing my body, I breathe out. Aware of body, relaxing body. You may feel restless in your mind. It's okay to recognize that. Recognizing my thoughts, I breathe in. Releasing my thoughts, I breathe out. Recognizing, releasing. Again, your mind may want to wander with thoughts. Gently bring your mind back to the present moment through your breathing. Breathing in, nothing to do. Breathing out, nowhere to go. In, out. Thank you everybody for your practice, and welcome back to the Diamond Sutra class. So before we continue our learning, I just want to emphasize one thing, that is meditation practice. So there are different types of meditation, different ways to meditate. Some of us, we are used to meditate while sitting. Other people may want to meditate while they are walking or lying down. So you can, find an appropriate way that balance both discipline and I would say relaxing for you. You don't want to force yourself too much that at the end of the meditation, you hate that meditation. But you also don't want to relax too much because we need certain degree of discipline when we practice, because we are creating a new path alongside with our habitual path, which, we know where it will lead, right? So in creating a new path, we need some degree of discipline. So that's the first reminder for today's class. Keep the practice. Don't abandon it. Not just uh, on Zoom, but keep daily practice as much as you can. Ideally, twice a day. Morning and evening. You don't have to do it long. If you have like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that's enough. So keep doing the practice. Consistency matters, right? And yeah. All right. So when we are here today, I want you all to have Lynn in your mind. Lynn is a member of this class, and she is undergoing, some treatment with her illness. So have her in your mind as a way that you dedicate your practice today for her recovery and well-being. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so let's get started with the next part of the sutra, which is the greatest gift.
Moreover, Subhuti, when a bodhisattva practices generosity, he does not rely on any object. That is to say, he does not rely on any form, sound, smell, taste, tactile object, or dharma to practice generosity. That, Subhuti, is the spirit in which a bodhisattva should practice generosity, not relying on signs. Why? If a bodhisattva practices generosity without relying on signs, the happiness that results cannot be conceived of or measured. Subhuti, do you think that the space in the eastern quarter can be measured? No, world honored one. Subhuti, if a bodhisattva does not rely on any concept when practicing generosity, then the happiness that results from that virtuous act is as great as space. It cannot be measured. Subhuti, the bodhisattvas should let their minds dwell in the teachings I have just given.
Thank you. Let's spend a moment to contemplate what we have just heard. So a bodhisattva or anyone, the Buddha said, when practice generosity, should not rely on any object to practice. In that sense, the happiness that results from that practice is as great as space. It cannot be measured. That is what the meaning of this passage. It is like seeing what is done without holding on to what is seen and done. In the previous part, we learned that if we hold on to the notions of a self, a person, a living being, and a lifespan, we are stuck. We are stuck in whatever we do, right? We would not be a liberated person. We also have explored the art of giving, that seeing beyond three elements of giving act, namely a giver, a receiver, and a gift, right? So this next part, we will learn about another aspect of giving that is free from sign or object, or the perception of sign or object. When I'm reading this part, I'm struck by the repetition of practicing generosity, right? So the Buddha could use another examples, but he chose to give to, he chose giving as an example. If we remember, in the setting, the very first passage that we read, the Buddha went for alms every morning, and he encountered people who gave him food, and he gave them the teaching in return. It is a reciprocal act, right? He knew that, regardless of how wonderful his teachings are, only if people put them into practice will they benefit from the teachings. So seeing the Buddha every morning was the greatest reminder for people to practice the teaching, especially the teaching of generosity. We can talk, beautifully about giving, but if we are not willing to give, we will never experience the transformative impact it has on our greedy and craving mind. And remember the second truth of Four Noble Truths: craving is one of the causes of our suffering. In Buddhism, there's the teaching of three kinds of gifts: the gift of material things, the gifts of the Dharma, the teaching, and the gift of fearlessness. So there are three types of gifts. We have already studied the gift of material things. Today we will, explore the gift of the Dharma. The gift of the Dharma is to teach or to introduce people to know the teaching and to practice the Dharma. For example, we are learning the Dharma, meaning that we are giving and receiving the Dharma. Then when you receive this Dharmic gift, you can give it to other people, right? This gift is free. This gift can be multiplied by you, and it doesn't have to be, doesn't have any restriction. It doesn't have any limitation. It doesn't have any form. So you can give freely to as many people as you can. And remember, when you give somebody something, it is from our hearts. It is from our kindness, right? It is from our generosity. So we're not giving expecting that people would return anything. We are giving because it is a necessary thing to do. It is a good thing to do. It is from our duty that we give the gift of the Dharma. That's how we continue the tradition. There are so many ways that you can give the gift of teachings. For example, one of the way is that you can show the teaching that you are practicing through your own actions. I have encountered many Vietnamese American parents who are quite suffering because of their children's misbehaviors. So they ask me to say something to the children, right? So remember, I told you a story about bodily teaching before, which is the teaching from one's own actions, right? Sometimes we teach people not through our words, but through our actions, right? Similarly, I think parents can teach their children without saying much. Because I know that sometimes parents say a lot, but their children don't listen, right? So maybe parents can use their actions to teach. For instance, they can teach their children about loving kindness by being loving in speech and in the way they listen and in their interaction with other people. So that is how you give the gift of Dharma through your action. Or if you want to share the gift of being kind with your greedy friends, maybe your words don't mean much to them but your action does, right? So it's not entirely about what you teach and what you hope that a person will learn from you. It's also about your action impacting your life. And we know that, in the spirit of practicing paramita, which is perfection, we are not concerned about whether other people use our gift in accordance with our desire. So regardless of how people perceive your Dharma gift, you are not upset because they don't use your gift appropriately or in the way you would like them to use. For example, we uh, we are learning here. I give you some explanation, some practices, and maybe ask you to practice. But if you don't, it doesn't concern me much because, I cannot go to your house and tell you to practice. And if I find out that you don't practice, I get upset. No, that doesn't happen to me because this is giving the teaching is what I do, and receiving and apply to your daily life is what you do, right? Maybe I can give some suggestion, encouragement, but whether you practice or not, even the Buddha cannot say anything, cannot do anything for you, right? So the gift of the teaching is supposed to be free. Free here doesn't mean that it doesn't cost money, but it's free in terms of there's no attachment before, during, and after the giving, right? So when I teach you, I give you the gift of the Dharma and I ask you to practice, But if you don't, then it doesn't upset me much. It's good if you practice, But if you don't, then you don't receive any benefit from this gift. The Buddha said that, there are many doors for people to enter the teaching. So we have to really be skillful in order to know which door is appropriate for what people, right? For example, for those who have children, you know that each child is learned and born and taught differently, right? It is said that in Buddhism, there are 84,000 methods that we can use to teach people. In other words, there are 84,000 kinds of way we can use, to give people, Nowadays, among some practitioners, there are some kinds of, discrimination that they think that their practice is better than the other person's practice, right? It shouldn't be like that. We human have different propensities, tendencies, contexts, and so many things else, right? So we know that we choose whatever is suitable for us, whatever is conducive to create optimal condition for us to practice. We know that this practice is only suitable for us and not for everyone, right? It is when we receive the gift of the teaching effectively, you take the teaching and see if it is suitable for you. So don't hold on to, because the teaching is formless. If you hold on to one certain thing and then you attach to that, then it becomes form, and the teaching is formless. We also have to remember that we are learning and practicing um, the bodhisattva ideal, right? It means that the more we learn, the more we give up, not attached to the thing we learn. We give up attachment, we give up prejudices, we give up discrimination, and ultimately we give up the notion of a permanent, independent, existing self. Whatever you call yourself, that is the thing that we ultimately have to give up. In the spirit, you know, we should give, because if you look at the passage, the Buddha told Subhuti, a practitioner should not rely on the sign when they do the giving, you know, because relying on sign will only limit our practice, right? If we really think about the way that we perceive sign, we know that we use our eyes to see, right? The way we see is full of discrimination and prejudices, influenced by culture, tradition, school, environments, society, everything. So what we see may be, you know, um, influenced by what we learned, what we are taught from external conditions, right? But we try to understand, we try to interpret, we try to make sense of what we see. Usually, if the things that we see are not in accordance with our preconceived notion of what we expect, then we suffer, right? So we have to transcend sign when we give, or when we do anything, when we do the practice. In the next part, we will learn why it's important to transcend sign. That's the second kind of gift, which is the gift of the Dharma. When you give it, the Dharma is formless. So don't make a form out of that formless gift. The third kind of gift is the gift of fearlessness. You know, in order to give something, you have to have it first, right? You have to have it, then you can give it. So you want to give the gift of fearlessness, you should have some of it in you, you know. Nowadays, the gift of fearlessness is becoming more and more important because, as we already know, the culture of consumerism produces fear so that people will buy more stuff, kind of to um, feel the fear in them. For example, people, you know, fear of getting old, so they buy products that makes them look younger. Or people fear immigrants, so they build wall to keep immigrant people out. And those who make weapons, they advertise that you have to defend yourself, your country, you have to protect your family, so buy our guns, you know. So everything is based on fear. Uh, and the seeds of fear are sown every day, you know. And we are influenced, you know, without knowing that those seeds are planting in the way that we interact with people. We use the internet. If you if you're mindful, you can see that, you know, they plant the seed of fear so that we will buy more stuff. And the beauty of giving fearlessness is that you don't need to have much. You have a little bit. Sometimes your presence is the greatest gift that you can give another person, you know. You can say to them, hey, I'm here. Don't be afraid. We can go through this together. Maybe that is the greatest gift that you can give to a person who is deep in his or her suffering. In a room full of panic people, if you can remain calm, you are giving them the gift of fearlessness. Furthermore, the fearlessness indicates a strong and established mind. Right? It's like a tree with deep roots that no wind can sway or uproot it. So to be able to offer this kind of gift, you have to have a consistent spiritual practice that benefit you first, and then the people who receive your gift. Remember again, we are thriving to practice paramita, which is no gift, no giver, no receiver, and no gift. So formless. This gift is formless in itself already, right? You don't it when it is formless, it is as great as space. So don't just limit your gift into thinking there's a form of the gift. After you gift, abandon any notion about you as a giver, a receiver, and the gift. So those are three kinds of gift in Buddhism. In Mahayana practice, especially Bodhisattva practice, there's something that I just want to briefly mention, that there are 4 methods that can bring people together for good cause. It is called, 4 methods of pacification, or 4 means of attraction, or 4 means of leading others to emancipation. In Vietnamese, it's called Tứ Nhiếp Pháp. So the first one is generosity, the giving, the dana, always first. The second is loving speech. The third one is benevolent deeds or conducts, an action that benefits others. And the fourth one is impartiality, or cooperation with others. So these 4 has giving as the first. So in Mahayana practice, in Bodhisattva practice, giving is always going as the forerunner of whatever practice you do, because in giving, there's always you as the practitioner and the other person that you share, so you practice not only for yourself, but also for other people as well. So next, the Buddha said that when we do the giving, we do not rely on form, sound, smell, taste, tactile object, or dharma. You can see that form, sound, smell, taste, tactile object, or the dharma, or we have these 6 external elements that are object of the mind, right? When we perceive this object, we form experiences, right? When you hear someone say something to you, you already have, first of all, preconceived notion of what you hear, and then maybe from that you generate experience, right? But usually our experiences are very conditional and contextual. 2 people perceive one thing could have 2 different experiences, right? So that is why the Buddha advised us not to rely on these external condition or phenomena when we do the practice. And when we are not rely on these external phenomena, we are free to practice. We are not bound by whatever external condition bring to us. Our experience become more unconditional. We don't because we don't rely on those external conditions anymore. We know that we are interdependent, but we don't hold on to those external conditions anymore. You know, so we're free to give. We're free to practice regardless of what quantity of our gift is. When we free ourselves from those external objects, then everything becomes as big as space. And next the Buddha said, the happiness that results cannot be conceived of or measured. So remember, what we are talking about here is the practice of giving. In the practice of giving, we try to free ourselves from signs, right? And when we are free from sign, the happiness that results from that practice cannot be measured. Because it means that when you do the giving, you're happy, regardless of how people perceive your generosity. Or when you put in another way, when you practice, you're happy. You don't need me or your parents to praise you, like how wonderful your practice is, right? So you're free. The happiness that you generate is immeasurable. In another translation, it said that the result of giving is, is the merit. The merit that you generate is immeasurable. This is the simple cause and effect law. Like, you give and you receive happiness or merit. It's not that you expect to receive happiness or merit when you give. It is just cause and effect. You don't expect, like, you plant a seed and the seed will sprout into a small tree. That's just cause and effect. Nothing magical there, right? So in my belief, whatever we want, we give. You see, we trick our greedy mind. If you want happiness, you give happiness. If you want to be wealthy, you give wealth, right? So it's the practice that, for ordinary people, if you whatever you want, usually you would take, right? But now you trick your mind. Whatever you want, you give. That is the initial step for achieving that happiness that is immeasurable or cannot be conceived of, right? So again, we do not jump to the highest ideal of a bodhisattva, right? Don't deny the simple important practices like meditation every day, writing gratitude, being kind to each other. So again, we are doing step by step when we fulfill our highest bodhisattva practice. It is wrong to think that if we don't rely on anything when we give, we should not give anything. It's wrong. We give, but we don't hold on to the idea that we give. We practice, but we don't hold on to the idea that we practice. There's always more room for practice, more space to practice, This is the way that we are inspired to practice. So there's always, it's it's always space for us to improve, to get to the highest level. Because usually when people study this sutra, they often jump directly to the highest goal, want to be bodhisattva immediately, want to say highest, most profound teaching. But we have to know where we are right now. Maybe even we are learning that ideal, the bodhisattva ideal, but right now we are where we are, still fully human with a lot of suffering. So we have to transform our suffering day by day. But we already have a point to, to try to practice to get to, right? Don't deny, don't ignore the simple practice, Um, so in this simple giving practice, we fulfill wisdom and compassion. These two are essential for spiritual practitioner. In terms of wisdom, we don't rely on forms or sound or smell or anything when we give. And in terms of compassion, the act of giving is already, you have to be kind to give, right? Be compassionate first, right? So in one simple act that the Buddha emphasized includes wisdom and compassion. And without either of those, maybe it's not enough, So now let's combine the question and the answer together, right? So the question is, how should a practitioner master their thinking, and how should they rely their mind on? Remember the question? So the answer is that one should liberate all beings, regardless of their form or not form. During and after that liberation, one should not think that there is a single being has been liberated. Additionally, the practice of generosity is brought up as an example. So when one engages in the practice of giving, one should not rely on form or sound or taste or anything to give. And this teaching is essential, that one should draw one's mind on it. So now we know how to train and master our thinking. If you don't, until now, if you still don't know, just do me a favor. Do a practice of generosity. Be kind, whatever material gift, dharma gift, or fearlessness, whatever that is, do that and look at what is your mind, what is your thinking when you do that, right? If you still don't know how to master your mind or master your thinking, because this is the basic and most profound, but still easy but difficult to do, right? Because this act of giving has wisdom and compassion in it, right? And one important reminder that we should remember is that even though the Diamond Sutra is transcending all kinds of discursive thoughts, it seems to negate conventional views that we hold on dearly. Yet, the very initial practice for such transcending system starts with a simple act of giving. The Buddha knows quite well that metaphysical discussion cannot liberate us from suffering, cannot help us to transform our pain. That is why he taught us to ground ourselves in actual practices, such as the practice of giving, the practice of the meditation practice, the practice of being grateful for what we have. It's, it is as simple as that for even for beginner. an advanced practitioner. So um, don't try to think too much about metaphysical aspect of this sutra because it's quite profound. The Buddha gave an example of a person who is shot by a poisoned arrow. Instead of, getting the arrow out, he asked people to tell him, before you get this arrow out, tell me who shot it, what kinds of poison is it, what kind of, who does the person, which caste does the person belong to, where he's from, where his parents are, all kinds of useless questions. But the most important thing is to how to get the arrow, how to heal him. He didn't care, right? So we have to be really mindful of our discursive mind, because it really want to engage in argument, discussion, and all sort of metaphysical realms that doesn't benefit our spiritual practice, right? So it is to finally to say that the highest, most fulfilled wisdom can be found and cultivated in every mundane activity. So we don't go chasing something metaphysical. Instead, we can find liberation and enlightenment everywhere because it is formless. Okay. All right. That's it for me today, and see if I have question. It is difficult to apply that principle to my kids. I do care if they practice and what I teach them. What is your advice? Okay, so the advice I have for you is to be patient, do more, show more than talk, because I know kids tend to not listen to you, to parents, because they think that they know better. But be patient. So we expect happiness from giving. Also, happiness is a real emotion to hold on to. So again, the question that we don't expect happiness, it's just a byproduct of the practice of giving. And happiness, conventionally, it is something that we want, right? And still, we are here. I want to ground us on this earth. Don't go too high up there. We still have happiness. We still have suffering. So what we want is how to transform suffering into happiness. And when we are free, when our mind is no longer does not attach to anything, then we can let go even happiness. Right? Should the greatest gift be given in the most proper way and at the most proper time? What is greatest gift? So the greatest gift, it doesn't have to, I think it doesn't, the greatest gift, it doesn't have to be quantified, right? It's, it is given, yes, in the most proper way and at the most proper time for, for whoever need whatever you give, right? So I think that's true. Yeah. Can this passage and the dedication of merit be used together to build something greater throughout our practice? Yes. Whatever that greater is for you, you can incorporate that into your practice. Don't always I want to remind us to ground ourselves on this earth. We are small bodhisattva. We are, regardless of how long we practice, we are still possessing the beginner's mind, right? So we try to be, you see, the meditation, we are trying to be in the present moment. That's very simple, but it's so hard, right? If everybody can be in the present moment, there would be no suffering. So we try to be right here in this moment, and whatever greater practice that stem out from that, that's great. Good practice generosity in a way that does not rely on any object lead to acting carelessly. These two things are different. Practice generosity that doesn't rely on any object is the ideal practice. Now we still have to rely on objects to give, to do the practice, right? I already mentioned that, don't try to go too far away from this conventional earth, because people who study Mahayana Sutra tend to go very far away from what is going on. And we want to, again, ground ourselves here. That's why the Buddha used the practice of giving. And in the very first passage, it describes his practice of alms round, meaning that, give and receive. So he wants to ground us here, and we rely, and step by step, we try to get, to the not relying on anything when we do the practice, right? So if next time when you practice meditation and you practice for an hour, you don't feel good about yourself, that's not relying on anything to practice. If you practice an hour and then you feel good about yourself, and then you feel bad for the other person who practiced for 5 minutes, then that's a problem, right? So that's it for me. And now I want to give you some time to share among yourself by going to smaller rooms, maybe a room with 3 people in it, and each of you will have 3 minutes to talk, right? So that's 3 people in one room and 9 minutes for the breakout session. All right, welcome back. Now tell me, what did you discuss? You don't have to. I'd love to hear you. David?
Sure. Yeah. So I think we were discussing everything that you had basically discussed, starting kind of on the base level, grounding yourself, and practicing selfless giving as a way to overcome the habits towards greed, and to basically cultivate gratitude and compassion, right? And then there's a difference though, and so we're saying, when you're giving selflessly, it leads to happiness, right? But we were trying to draw the distinction between uh, happiness, say, on a conventional level versus, say, neither happiness nor non-happiness, kind of on that ultimate level. And that is that we want to make sure that when we're giving, we're not giving just to make ourselves happy, um, because that can also lead to the attachment of happiness and trying to do something to create that. Whereas the idea is to be able to give without any attachment to any of these emotions. And so I think I wanted to, if you could clarify for us, is I guess, is it possible to get attached to happiness in that sense.
Thank you. I have my answer for that, but I want to hear you people here to I want to hear your input in this. Conventionally, don't go too far, you know, we're right here. Yes, you bow.
Dear Thầy, dear friend, I think given we talk about the conventional truth, the ground that we are right now, so I think, you know, happiness, I mean, if your practice brings you happiness, it could be a motivation for you to keep doing the practice. So I don't think there anything wrong with it until it become an attachment causing your suffering. And if they are suffering, you know, if you suffer. So when you get that happiness bring you suffer, then there may be something wrong. But if not, I think it will be a good motivation, good drive for what you are doing right now. So
Thank you. Anybody else? Come on, people. Hi, Thai.
Yeah, we talked about the feedback that you get when you give generosity or when you give generously, and how that gratitude can be positive, right? So in this aspect, we wanted to know how that happiness would be more boundless, yeah, when not relying on the gratitude that you receive back from your generosity.
Can you say more?
So Margie was talking about how when she gives, she actually is the happiness, the gratitude that people, you know, that are receiving whatever gift that she's giving, that gratitude it encourages her to give more, to be more generous as well, right? So we wanted to know like how like it could be even more boundless if we didn't rely on those signs, right?
All right. If you don't, then I will say something. So when you give somebody something, you feel happy, right? It's not a trick question, it's just a straight question. When you give something to somebody and you see that that person is happy, and then you happy because of the act, right? That's very normal, conventional way of, you know, give and receive, right? What happened when you give something to someone and they're not happy, but you're happy? So you're not relying on the reaction of that person. You are happy because you do the giving, you do the practice, and that just makes you happy. You don't give to make yourself feel better, right? No, that's benefit the other person, but that may reinforces your ego because, you know, something wrong, so I give, that's why this makes me a better person. No, that shouldn't be the way that in this sutra, at least we learn how to give, right? So we give, and regardless of, you know, whatever the other person's reaction to our practice, we are happy anyway. That's the basic level, right? We go another level, we go up, you know, step by step. So we try to follow or embody the bodhisattva ideal of giving, then it's just like when your right hand is hurt, your left hand just hold on to it and take care of it. There's no like second thought or happiness or anything that arises from that. Just, you know, I do this practice because it's just my nature. That's the higher level of giving. So that would be boundless in the way that you describe it, right? So you don't rely on external conditions when you do the practice, so that's your, you know, whatever result that may bring will be unconditional. And it is important because we are conditioned by, you know, whatever surrounding us. That's why we have this existence. When we kind of use off all the conditions, there's no more us. So like nirvana, when you burn off all the oil, no more condition, no more birth, no more death. That is the higher level. But right now, again, you know, do the giving, because we want to practice generosity, we want to be kind. That's first step, and then we go from there. Just, you know, we have to do it, really do it. Don't just think about it and do it. So that's the how we initiate this bodhisattva practice, you know. So I'm not sure if I confuse you more or answer your question, but that is just another thing. Okay, and
is this what Bodhidharma meant when he told the emperor that there was no merit for all of his acts of generosity?
I have no idea what he meant. I think so. Yes, I think so, because the emperor, you know, I think he got attached to his giving. What do you think?
I think that makes sense. Trying to tell the emperor that
you have to give us some context, because some people may not
be
familiar with that.
So there's a koan or a public case with Bodhidharma who encountered the emperor, and the emperor wanted to know from Bodhidharma how much merit he had accrued for building all these monasteries and giving like lavish gifts to the Sangha. Bodhidharma replied that he made no merit, and then I think the emperor just like kicks him out at that point because he's angry. But that's a koan that Zen practitioners contemplate, like what Bodhidharma meant by there being no merit that gets generated. But yeah, it does seem like the emperor was attached to the idea of like making merit or making karma, and Bodhidharma was trying to remind him that the karma is empty. The actions of generosity need to be emptied and regarded as empty for it to be truly virtuous.
Perhaps that was also the first lightning for the emperor to kind of break out of his, you know, habitual thinking about making merits and get to the more important practice that the Bodhidharma wanted to, you know, give him when he arrived in China at that time. So that's why he went to the mountain for 9 years, sitting facing the wall, you know. Anyway, so again, we want to ground ourselves here on this level on earth. Do simple practice, please. Writing gratitude, and do meditation practice every day. That's just important, and very first step for us to go further. We are building strong foundation first. Okay. All right. So because today we have only 2 people reading, Math is not here. So I will ask Mỹ Huyền to do the dedication of merit, and again, one of our friends, Lynn, she is in hospital right now. So when you listen to the dedication of merit, please have her in your mind, in your practice as well. All right. Can you share, and Mỹ Huyền will read it. Mỹ Huyền, turn on, you are on mute.
Dedication of merit. May our parents, ancestors, and all beings be happy, healthy, and peaceful. May our departed ancestors who passed away on the way to find freedom be reborn in Buddha's land. May all beings in sixth sense spheres together practice four great sublime abode and be liberated from suffering. May the great Bodhisattva shine light on our path of liberation. May all beings find common purpose and compassion for their fellows as human existing on this earth. May we be present and aware of our gifts in the present moment. May the teaching of Dharma reach all beings to transform suffering into peace and enlightenment. May the fruit of learning this Sutra liberate all sentient beings from egotistic self, strengthen the Buddha Citta to successfully carry on the Bodhisattva pathway. With gratitude, maybe the wisdom and compassion that I gained from our section exploring the Diamond Sutra help lessen the suffering and help increase the happiness of those who life I touch. Maybe the merit we made in studying this sutra inspire us to engage the world with the Bodhisattva wisdom and compassion, and to create pure land in this world for the sake of all beings. May the merit accrued from this study and practice of Diamond Sutra class adorn Amitabha Buddha Pure Land, repay the full great debt above, and relieve the suffering of those in the three paths below.
Thank you. May this practice today and all our good actions from the time when we were born be transferred to our friend Lynn, and may she recover soon with the great helps from her medical team. Thank you everybody for being here today, and have a wonderful moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thich.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Thank you, Thich.